Hello everyone, Crash here, this is RTA Motorsports. So today we're going to be going over my final thoughts on the Thrustmaster TS-PC Racer, as well as I'm going to go over why it's no longer in the studio. Here we go.
Welcome to RTA Motorsports.
I want to stop by saying that if you need any sort of custom t-shirts or polos designed after your favorite automotive manufacturer, or if you need any vinyls for your vehicles or your rig at all for whatever reason, definitely check out phantomgraphics.com. They can customize any sort of design that you desire. They have some funny designs, some more serious designs like this V logo for my CTS V. Definitely check them out. Again, that's phantomgraphics.com.
So I want to start by saying where I actually came from before I give you my thoughts and opinions about the TS-PC Racer. So that way you get an idea as to where I'm formulating this thought from. So we started off with the Thrustmaster T100 back in 2013, 2014-ish, which is only a 270-degree rotation force feedback rim. Very basic wheel from Thrustmaster, and that was actually what started me into this whole sim racing craziness. And then after that we had the Driving Force GT wheel for a little while. From there I moved on to the Thrustmaster TX wheel, which I've had on this channel quite a few times. And then from there I've tried the fanatec CSR wheel. That's actually my good buddy's wheel. I've tried that many times, complete with the CSL Elite pedals, the older versions. And now I have the fanatec clubsport V2.5 wheel with the V3 pedals and the fanatec SQ 1.5 shifter with the handbrake. So that's kind of been my progression. Before we had the fanatec gear in-house, we had the Thrustmaster TS-PC Racer. So the degrees of rotation with the Thrustmaster TS-PC Racer can go anywhere from 270 degrees like the old Thrustmaster T100 all the way up to 1080, and that puts it in line with the T500 or the T300 that Thrustmaster offers. That's also more degrees than you would find with the fanatec V2.5 wheelbase that caps out at 900 degrees of rotation. It also features a 40-watt brushless force feedback motor that delivers 16 bits of resolution to your system. Wheelbase also features the external power supply, which is somewhat gimmicky, that looks just like a turbo, but it can actually deliver a peak output of over 400 watts. And the wheelbase itself also has the ever well-known Heart system, their Hall effect sensor, that's within actually many of the wheelbases that is offered by Thrustmaster. Also, the rim that is included with the Thrustmaster TS-PC Racer is probably by far one of my favorite things that Thrustmaster actually offers, and it's surprising that they're not selling it on its own yet. Oh, well, they may, I just don't know about it yet. But it is the open wheel style rim that they have. It kind of actually more so reminds me of the GT3 style rims that you're finding in a lot of the newer race cars. It includes 6 buttons, 2 paddle shifters, 1 rotary encoder. The paddle shifters themselves are metal in design, and they have the same brushed finish that you're going to find on the top of the Thrustmaster TS-PC Racer, as well as the buttons themselves kind of have a rubbery sort of feel, a little bit less of a tactile push. I covered that in my unboxing video. And the grips themselves are suede, very thick bolstered, and kind of soft. It's actually a really sweet feeling rim. I really like it. So now to my thoughts and opinions. Well, like I said before, this is a very unpopular opinion. I watched many videos. I tried to tune it, tweak it as much as possible. Now, I came directly from the Thrustmaster TX, and then halfway through my ownership of the TS-PC Racer, I actually got the fanatec, the V2.5. Now, right now, the Thrustmaster TS-PC Racer is going for $499 US, and every so often you can find it on sale or find it used at a little bit better price. fanatec gear, not so much. You don't really find it on sale too much, although the V2.5, the wheel base by itself actually came down in price when it was released from the V2, and it's now $499 as well. With the Thrustmaster TS-PC Racer, you do not have the choice to run it on any sort of console. It is PC strictly, so it's unlike the Thrustmaster TX or T300. You have to run it only on PC. You don't have that option. The very first thing that I noticed, and if you actually seen my initial impressions on this topic, is the weight of the wheel and the feel of the gearing on the inside. I was actually a little bit astonished that that was even a thing, because the Thrustmaster TX and T300, they are super smooth rims. They are of older design. They have been out for quite a while, but they are very smooth, and that's their claim to fame. Also, they're not weak rims by weak wheelbases by any means. I mean, the wheelbases themselves provide an adequate amount of force feedback that I feel. I've raced with it for a very long time, so I was expecting the Thrustmaster TS-PC Racer, being that it is geared towards PC only in an enthusiast level wheelbase and new technology, I expected it to be a lot smoother in its delivery. Now, once you actually powered up the wheelbase and you entered the title, when there was no force feedback present, the wheelbase itself, you didn't feel too much of the cogginess of it, or when the force feedback was delivered, you still didn't really notice the cogginess to it, but there was an inherent dampening that I just could not get past. And there is certain, especially on the Nordschleife, there's a lot of force feedback that comes through the rim. There's things that I was used to, certain cues that I was used to. Now, I'm not a very good sim racer by any means, but I have been on the Nordschleife in Assetto Corsa, iRacing, Race Room, numerous amounts of time, more so on the Assetto Corsa side, in many different vehicles. And there are certain cues with my Thrustmaster TX that I was used to, certain feelings that I was used to, certain things you would feel on the road surface that I was used to. And I noticed no matter what setting I put the force feedback level at with the Thrustmaster TS-PC Racer, although the force feedback was a lot stronger, it was a lot more of a challenge, and I felt like the product was more manly or adult-like, because its force feedback delivery was much more powerful. But there were certain cues that I was used to that were getting drowned out, and it was due to the inherent dampening, and I had the dampener setting on 0, and I tried to adjust it by lowering the force feedback setting, raising it, lowering it, raising it in the title itself, whatever title I was in, but I just could not get past the inherent dampening, just the weight of the wheelbase. And unfortunately, being that I just came from the Thrustmaster TX, and like I said, midway through my ownership, I went to the fanatec V2.5 that fanatec was kind enough to send to me. I noticed that both on the TX and the fanatec, those cues were there. I was feeling those different road feelings, the different telemetry that was delivered to the wheel. I was feeling it in the rim, but it was missing in the Thrustmaster TS-PC Racer. Not to completely bash the product, because I'm not. I'm really not. I'm just being very critical of it because of the price point and the time frame it was actually produced. The design of it, I forgot to mention, I also tried the Thrustmaster TMX. That's another one of my good friends' wheelbase. Had that, mounted it to my rig, tried that, and when I had them all side by side, you could see a progression in design depending on price point. The TMX looked a lot like a smaller version of the TX, and the TX compared to the TS-PC Racer, the quality of the products used on the wheelbase was noticeable. You could see where your money went. And you felt like with the wheelbase in your hand or just looking at it mounted to your rig, it was worth the money you spent. It was all metal and construction. The painted surfaces on it were beautiful. The brushed finish on the top was beautiful. I loved how it had a cohesive design to it with the wheel that was included, where the paddles matched the top of the TS-PC Racer. I I thought that was super slick. You could see more of that in my unboxing video. I also liked how it was pretty compact in size. It was narrower than the TX, about I would say just slightly taller than the TX, but it felt very substantial. Now, I'm not saying that it's a bad wheel. I'm just saying it came after, quite a bit after, the Thrustmaster TX wheelbase was introduced. And I was expecting that same smooth nature that we had within the Thrustmaster TX. Especially, it seemed like it was so aimed at enthusiast racers, because a lot of enthusiast racers who spend a lot of money on their rigs, you know, motion rigs and everything like that, mainly race on PC. It didn't deliver on the most vital point that I was looking for, and that was smoothness. It felt like what I would expect the T500. Now, I never tried the T500, and from what I understand, the T500 was way worse in its coggy nature of it, and it was this wheelbase was a lot smoother than the T500, but it felt like a step backwards. I like strong force feedback. I really appreciate strong force feedback, but I didn't appreciate the sacrifice that was made, and that was road feeling. I was missing my TX, and I was not racing as well as I had my TX. Now, if you're looking for a wheel that is really good for drifting, a wheelbase that's good for drifting, I would recommend that if you already own a lot of the Thrustmaster ecosystem products like the TH8A, or maybe a good set of pedals, because the counter steering of it is actually really quick and seems to happen very fast. It's very responsive. It was very easy to drift with, to be honest with you, but that's not my main form of sim racing. I love dirt rally, I love Assetto Corsa, iRacing, so on and so forth. So I needed a good all-arounder, and I didn't feel that it was a step forward, unfortunately. And so, unfortunately, we had to get rid of that wheelbase because, honestly, I just didn't feel like it was going to be of a benefit moving forward. And the problem is the fact that Fanatec's even out there, and that the V2.5 came out. What I mean by that is the V2.5 is $499. Yes, it does not include a wheel, but if you're buying the TSPC Racer, you're at that enthusiast level, and you're racing on PC. The TSPC Racer comes with an open wheel rim, yes, but if you are at that enthusiast level, unless you only race GT3 and open wheel, you're going to want another wheel. And if you already own another wheel, you already own Thrustmaster products, yeah, maybe that's going to make more sense then. But if you don't, if you're coming in fresh, well, the fact is you could get a V2.5 wheelbase at the same price, add on some wheels onto there. Yes, you are spending more, but I kind of feel you get more, because with these products, you could actually go on console. I don't think they have PS4 support yet for the V2.5. I think they do have Xbox support. Now, I'm not even sure. I don't really race on console. I know the CSL Elite, which I've read a lot of reviewers actually compare the two. I haven't tried that wheelbase yet, so I can't give you my opinion. But they seem to make a direct comparison between the CSL Elite and the TSPC Racer. Now, the CSL Elite is $289. And then from there, if you add on the CSL wheel that goes with that CSL Elite wheelbase, you don't have to put that wheel, but that's the one made for it, very budget friendly. I think that wheel is $89. So you're at almost like $100 or a little bit more than that, less than the TSPC Racer, and you have a round wheel, one that you could use for racing anything. Or you could have the CSL Elite wheelbase, tack on maybe the BMW rim, like the one I have here, the Alcantara rim, which I would say is better than the 599 XX EVO rim that Thrustmaster offers. And then you're at about $50 over the TSPC Racer. It's the fact that Fanatec even exists that is going to cause the biggest issue with this product. because with the CSL Elite you have console support, and they just had a press release that they're going to have PS4 support. Something you can't do, you don't have an option for with the TSPC Racer. So I kind of feel that Thrustmaster really needs to lower the price of this wheelbase to really remain competitive, because in my point of view, and I don't have a huge history of trying a lot of different rims. Again, I'll go over it. I had the T100, I tried the TMX, I tried the, well, I owned the TX for a long period of time. I tried the old CSR, and now I have a Fanatec V2.5. I've tried a lot of different rims. I also tried the G27 and the G29, but it's a good wheelbase. But for the money, I think you can do some shopping around. And our products in sim racing, you could sell it in the used market very well. So if you already own a bunch of Thrustmaster stuff, you're not necessarily stuck with it. You could eBay it, and typically you could get close to what you paid for it back, especially if it's in really good shape, or you could use the forums. It's hard for me to really recommend the TSPC Racer because it didn't feel that evolutionary. So I hope this makes sense. I'm sorry if you own a TSPC Racer and you love it. I know this is a very unpopular opinion, and I'm not horribly bashing it, because there's a lot of people that love it and they feel it is an evolutionary product. They feel that it is the next step, but in my opinion, it was a step backwards in the main point of the wheelbases, because everything we do in sim racing is through our hands. We feel the road telemetry through our hands. We judge what the vehicle's doing through our hands, unless you have a motion rig. So the fact that it was hiding some telemetry through its inherent dampening and resistance and the coggy nature of it, I just didn't feel it was worthy of the price that they're charging, and I feel that Thrustmaster could have done better. So I'm Crash, so this is RTA Motorsports. Definitely leave a comment below. I'm probably going to be a little scared to read the comment box below, because I know a lot of you really do love this wheelbase, but it's kind of why I was holding off on this review. I was doing a lot of research, and I tried to do a lot of different settings, and I really tried to give it its best shot at impressing me. And so yeah, let me know what your experiences are below, what wheels you came from. I'm really curious to see how everyone else feels about this wheelbase. So as usual, see you all next time.